All right, so get this. We're going deep on automation testing today.
Ooh, excited.
I know, right? You guys sent in some seriously cool stuff for this one.
I took a peek. Definitely some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, like some stuff that made me go, wait, really? You
Yeah.
know? So we're going to break down what it is, why it matters, especially to you listening right now,
Definitely a need to know.
and how to make it work, like actually apply this stuff.
Practical application is key.
Totally. Get ready for some aha moments. We're going to uncover the secrets to maximizing your automation ROI.
We'll cover that for sure.
And we'll even spill the tea on which tests you should not automate.
Ah, yes. It's not a one-size-fits-all, right?
Nope, not at all. Strategy is key.
Absolutely. Picking your battles.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is automation testing? I mean, we hear the buzzword,
Right, gets thrown around a lot,
but I think we need to really define it.
for sure. At its core, it's basically using software tools to execute your test cases instead of, a human manually doing it step by step.
Right. Oh, so it's not just about clicking buttons faster.
No, it's much more than that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I was picturing like a robot hand going crazy.
Uh-huh. Not quite. It's really about creating a system that can run those tests, log the results, compare them to what you're expecting, generate those detailed reports.
All automatically. That's so cool. Like, no human needed.
Well, limited human intervention anyway.
Gotcha. Now, I noticed company name mention struggling with regression testing after updates.
Yes. Classic use case.
Is that like a common thing people use automation for?
Oh, big time. Regression testing is where automation truly shines. Picture this. You've got a website packed with features every time you tweak something.
Or add something new.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you haven't messed up anything that was working.
Oh, I get it. So you don't accidentally break things.
Exactly. Now imagine manually retesting everything, especially with how fast company name pushes updates based on growth projections.
That investor deck was pretty impressive.
It was. They're moving fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, manually doing all that, nightmare.
Total nightmare. Makes sense why they'd turn to automation.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay, so automation can definitely save time, especially on those super repetitive tests.
It's a huge time saver.
But let's talk WHY. Like, for you listening,
Right. What's in it for you?
what are the real benefits of this? Besides, more time for coffee breaks.
Okay, more coffee breaks, IS a benefit, I'll give you that. But it goes way deeper. Automation testing isn't just about speed.
It's about more than just being fast.
Way more. You get increased effectiveness, broader test coverage, and it's faster. Like significantly faster.
I like the sound of all of that.
It's a game changer. Think about those multilingual websites we talked about before.
Right, testing in different languages.
Manually doing that for every language. It'd be a nightmare.
And so easy to miss stuff.
Exactly. Automation handles it without breaking a sweat.
Consistent quality, no matter the language.
Exactly.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, I see how powerful this can be, especially for those really big, complex systems.
Or fast-paced dev cycles. Absolutely.
It's not just about doing things faster, but better, too.
Absolutely. And more consistently.
Oh, consistency. Good point. So manual testing. Well, people make mistakes.
Humans are prone to error. We get tired. We overlook things. We have those off days. Automation removes all that variability.
Oh, so the tests are always run the same way,
Every single time.
leading to more reliable results.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm sold on all those benefits. But UT, is there anything you should not automate?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question.
You know that white paper you sent from Think Tank that said not all tests are created equal?
They are wise words. It's true. Automation isn't the magic solution for every scenario.
So it's not just a free-for-all.
Nope. For example, testing something brand new, a feature or design that hasn't even been looked at by a human.
You're saying don't automate that right away.
It's usually not a good idea. That initial exploration, figuring out how it's supposed to work, that's best done by a human brain.
Yeah, so we're still needed. That's a relief. What about situations where things are constantly changing?
Ah, you're thinking about agile development.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all about quick iterations, right?
Right, and frequent changes.
So is automation like the enemy of agile?
Not at all. It's actually the perfect partner.
Wait, really?
Think about it. Agile is all about short sprints, releases, constant feedback.
So much change so fast.
Now, imagine trying to manually test everything after every little change.
Yeah, you'd never get anything done.
Exactly. You'd be crawling.
Yeah.
Automation lets you keep up with that pace.
By speeding up the testing.
Exactly. Make sure those rapid changes don't break things.
Oh, so at HLPS you stay agile?
It's the perfect partner.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So it's about picking the right tests.
Exactly. You don't automate everything.
And even when you automate, there's a process, right? It's not just flipping a switch.
Definitely process several key steps, actually.
Okay, I'm all ears. Hit me with step 1. What's the first thing on this automation journey?
Well, the first step is tool selection.
Tool selection. Right, gotta pick the right tools for the job.
Exactly. And there are tons out there, each with their own, quirks.
So many options. How do you even choose?
Well, it all comes down to what you need
Yeah,
and the type of app you're testing.
makes sense. You mentioned in your notes, like, matching the tool to the tech the app uses. Something about QTP and Informatica, right?
Right. Like, imagine you've got a web app built on, let's say, a JavaScript framework like React.
Okay, trendy.
Super trendy. Now, if you try to test that with a tool meant for, like, old school desktop apps,
Oh no, a mismatch.
total mismatch, like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You'll run into all sorts of compatibility issues.
And it probably wouldn't be very efficient.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes for other situations, like if you're working with super complex data transformation.
Oh, you're talking about those ETL processes.
Yep. You'd want a specialized tool, like
Mm.
Informatica, something built for that purpose, not just any old automation tool.
Gotcha. Use the right tool for the job. Like, don't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so we've got our tool belt all set up. What's the next step?
Next, you got to define the scope.
Define the scope. Okay, what does that mean?
Basically, figure out which parts of your application you're actually going to automate and set some boundaries.
Boundaries, good point. Don't go overboard.
It's easy to get carried away.
Mm.
But you got to think about your business needs, the volume of data you're dealing with, and if it's even technically possible to automate certain things.
So, being realistic about what you can automate. You mentioned business needs. Can you give an example of how that affects scope?
Sure. Imagine an e-commerce site.
Mm.
The checkout process, that's super critical,
But
right?
that's super critical, right?
Yeah, you don't want any problems there.
Exactly. Bugs there mean lost sales, frustrated customers. So you'd probably prioritize automating tests for that whole checkout flow. Make sure it's rock solid. That's smart. Focus on what matters most.
You also said something about technical feasibility, like sometimes you just can't automate something.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not practical. Like, imagine you're trying to automate a test that involves a lot of very specific user actions, like drag and drop with precise timing.
Ooh, sounds tricky.
It can be. Depending on your tools, your tech, replicating that exact behavior might be way too hard, maybe even impossible to automate well.
So sometimes it's just better to leave it to a human.
Exactly. There are limits to what automation can handle.
Okay, so it's not just what we want to automate, but what we can realistically do.
Right?
This is making a lot more sense now. Okay, so we've defined the scope. What comes after that?
Planning and design. This is where you actually, craft your automation strategy, figure out what framework you'll use, what the deliverables will be.
Ooh, like a blueprint for the whole automation thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Laying the groundwork for a structured approach. Structure, that's good. Speaking of structure, remember that research paper from University Name? They were talking about different automation frameworks.
Ah, yes. Frameworks are key.
I'm still a little fuzzy on what those are exactly. Why are they so important?
Okay, so think of a framework as like a set of guidelines, rules that help keep your automation efforts organized.
Oh, okay, so it keeps things consistent.
Right. It provides structure, which has tons of benefits, like your code can be reused more easily, saving you tons of time down the line.
Oh, so you're not constantly reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. You build on what you've already got.
Yeah.
Now, as for types of frameworks, there are a few common ones, like linear frameworks. They're pretty straightforward, good for smaller projects.
Simple and sweet.
Then you've got modular frameworks. They break the application down into smaller chunks, easier to manage, easier to update.
Oh, like building blocks? You can create all sorts of things just by combining them differently.
Exactly. Perfect analogy. Then you've got data-driven frameworks. They keep your test data separate from your test scripts.
Why is that useful?
Well, it lets you test a ton of different scenarios without having to tweak the actual scripts every time. And then, of course, there are keyword-driven frameworks that use keywords to represent actions and objects. So even non-programmers can understand and even create tests.
Wow, so many options. Sounds like picking the right framework is just as crucial as picking the right tool.
Absolutely. It's all part of the strategy.
What should people consider when making that framework decision?
Well, how complex the application is, what skills your team has, and how easy it'll be to maintain the tests in the long run.
So lots to think about. But okay, let's say we've got our tools, our scope, our framework all sorted out. Now what? Hit go and watch the magic happen.
Not quite. Next comes test execution. This is where you actually run those automated scripts you built.
Showtime.
Right. This might involve feeding in data, watching how things run, and analyzing those results.
You're not just setting it and forgetting it, you're actively involved.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where tools like Quality Center can be a lifesaver. Remember we talked about
Oh,
that?
yeah, Quality Center. I read that it can generate reports and even help find where failures are coming from.
Exactly. It's like having a detective on your team.
Especially useful when you're dealing with a huge system.
Right. You need that visibility.
Yeah.
Now, there's one final step that a lot of people forget, but it's crucial for long-term success.
Okay, don't leave me hanging. What's this mystery step?
Maintenance.
Maintenance. Wait, I thought automation was supposed to make things easier.
It does.
Yeah.
But even robots need a little TLC now and then.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Software's always changing, right?
Yeah.
So your tests got to keep up. That means updating scripts, making sure things are compatible with new versions of your tools, constantly refining that framework.
So it's an ongoing process, like tending a garden. You got to keep it healthy and growing.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of growth, let's talk about maximizing your ROI. We want to make sure all this effort actually pays off.
Right, we're not just automating for fun, although it's ISIS. Pretty cool. We want results. So, any tips for getting the most bang for our buck?
Well, one key thing is defining that scope up front, like we talked about.
Scope, scope, scope. Got it. What else?
Pick the right tool. Don't just go for what's popular or trendy.
So, avoid the shiny object syndrome.
Exactly. Really think about your tech, your team's skills, your budget.
Make sure it's a good fit.
Right. Now, this might sound a bit technical, but don't skimp on scripting standards and good exception handling.
Oh, technical jargon alert.
It basically means write your code well. Keep it clean, consistent. It'll save you headaches later on.
So, a well-oiled machine, not a Frankenstein monster of code.
Exactly. And finally, track your progress.
Yeah.
Measure how well your automation is doing.
Metrics. Love a good metric. What should we be tracking?
Things like how long tests take to run, their pass-fail rates, even how many bugs your automation uncovers.
Okay, I can see how that's useful. Now, I know we've gone deep on the technical stuff, but let's zoom out for a second. How does all of this fit into the bigger picture of, actually building software?
Great question. It's not just about the tools and the tests themselves. It's about how they help us make better software.
Right. So how does automation testing fit into the whole software development lifecycle? So we've talked about how automation testing is a part of the whole software development lifecycle, not just some separate thing. But I'm curious how that actually works in the real world, with so many companies doing agile development these days.
Right. Agile's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about being fast, right? Iterating quickly, making changes all the time.
Rapid fire development for sure.
So does automation kind of clash with that, or does it fit in?
It fits in perfectly.
Yeah.
Actually, automation is like Agile's best friend.
Oh, really? I thought they might butt heads.
Nope. They're a power couple. Think about it. Agile's all about short sprints, right? Frequent releases.
Yeah.
Getting feedback all the time.
So much change so quickly.
And if you tried to manually test everything after each little tweak,
You'd be stuck in testing forever.
exactly, you'd never keep up. Automation helps you stay agile.
By speeding up the testing process.
Exactly. And make sure you don't break things with each change.
So it's like a turbo boost for Agile?
You got it. Speed and quality.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But even with all these benefits, I'm sure there are still some challenges, right? It can't be all smooth sailing.
You're right. There are always bumps in the road. One big one is setting realistic expectations.
Oh, yeah. Expectations are key.
It's easy to think automation will magically solve all your testing problems overnight.
Like a silver bullet.
But it takes time, Effort to set things up right, to build that framework, to maintain it. It's an investment.
So you got to be patient, put in the work. What are some other pitfalls people should watch out for?
Choosing the wrong tool can be a big one.
Yeah, we talked about all those different tools out there.
It's overwhelming. You got to do your research, figure out what fits your needs, your tech, your budget. Don't just go for what's trendy.
So easy to get seduced by the shiny new toy.
And it's a waste if it doesn't actually work for you.
Like buying a fancy espresso machine and then realizing you don't even like espresso.
Exactly. You end up with a clunker on your counter and still craving regular coffee.
Okay, so Realistic expectations, the right tools, anything else?
Oh, finding the right people is huge.
Yeah.
It's not easy to find skilled automation engineers.
Yeah, that's a specialized skill set.
Big time. And there's high demand for them. But having a strong team with the right skills and mindset, that's essential.
It's an investment in your automation success.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So realistic expectations, right tools, right people. Anything else to keep in mind?
Data management can be tricky.
Oh, right. We need data for testing.
Lots of data, usually. And you got to make sure it's good data, accurate, relevant, formatted correctly. Otherwise, your tests might be useless.
Like trying to build a house with rotten wood.
Exactly. Looks okay from the outside, but it's not going to stand the test of time.
And speaking of time, technology's always changing, right? What works today might be outdated tomorrow.
That's the fun part. You got to stay curious, keep learning, adapt.
It's like a never-ending puzzle.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what keeps things interesting, right?
Absolutely. And those aha moments when you figure something out, they're the best.
Totally agree. So for those of you listening, thinking about diving into automation testing,
We encourage you.
it's challenging, for sure, but also incredibly rewarding.
You get to be at the forefront of technology, helping shape the future of software.
And making sure that software is high quality, reliable, and actually works the way it should.
What could be more satisfying than that?
Well said. So that's it for our deep dive into automation testing. We hope you found this exploration, well, insightful, maybe even inspiring.
We had fun exploring it with you.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with technology. This is The Deep Dive, signing off.